Hey there, Mike Robbins here with another video blog message. This week I want to talk a little bit about the preciousness of life. You know, just a few days ago, Tony Gwynn passed away from mouth cancer. Now, Tony Gwynn, as you may know, was a famous baseball player, played for the San Diego Padres for his entire career, Hall of Famer, one of the greatest hitters of his generation and arguably of all time. And he developed mouth cancer a few years ago. And what they think the connection is from chewing tobacco over the course of his career. So it was a very sad loss. 54 years old. He was coaching at San Diego State University, his alma mater, up until a few months ago, and had been undergoing treatment. I didn't realize he was quite so sick, and was shocked actually when I heard the news. But there was something about his death, and thinking of him in particular, and I didn't know him personally, but growing up, watched him play baseball a lot and followed his career, and he was someone that as a major league superstar seemed larger than life to me. And knowing that he passed away, I immediately felt for his family and all the fans in San Diego and people who followed his career and were connected to him, those connected to the San Diego State, baseball program. But it had me stop and pause and reflect, as often is the case when someone either close to me or someone I'm aware of dies, especially when it seems somewhat sudden or they're still quite young and vibrant. And, I'm amazed. And I've written a lot about this. If you've read my books or followed my blog or any of these video messages, death is a subject that I touch on from time to time as, I've lost both my parents and a number of really close people in my life. And it's had an impact on me in mostly a positive way, even in the midst of the pain. But there's something about when someone dies, especially someone that we're either close to or connected to or may seem larger than life, as Tony Gwynn did, to realize that we're human, that this human incarnation is temporary, it's fragile, it's precious. And, years ago a mentor of mine said to me, Mike, if you lived your life more aware of your own death, you would live very differently on a daily basis. And I think, unfortunately, as a culture, we don't do a very good job thinking about that or talking about that or really embracing that idea. We're so focused on production, on youth, on beauty, on getting things done, on being vital and healthy. And look, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be vital and healthy, and there's nothing wrong with us wanting to focus on our health or even on beauty in a positive way. But there's some denial or avoidance that we seem to have culturally, and many of us personally, when it comes to death. And yes, it's painful, and yes, it's challenging, and it's quite frankly scary for me to think about and contemplate my own death, the potential deaths of my wife, my friends, my family members, even my girls. That's probably the hardest to even think of. And while we like to think that life flows in the natural order of things and we all get to live to be 90 or 100 years old and each generation dies off as the younger generations move along, but that's not actually the way that life works. And sometimes we pick up the newspaper or hear something, on TV or on the radio or on the internet that someone like Tony Gwynn, a professional baseball player who was larger than life, passes away, or someone close to us in our life, whether they're sick or not. And I think there's something beautiful that we can glean in the midst of the sadness and the shock of it, and that is it can remind us and focus us on what's important. It can bring us back to connecting with the people that we love, not taking things so seriously, not stressing out and worrying about so many of the things that we stress and worry about that, quite frankly, just aren't that important. And when we hold life in this precious way, with that open hand, as the metaphor is, not grasping and squeezing so tight as though we have sand in our hand and it slips through, and not holding it so loosely that it just falls away, but holding it with a sacred reverence, the preciousness of life, really appreciating and enjoying every aspect of it, even the difficult parts, even the confusing parts, especially the parts that are fun and wonderful. But think right now of how many amazing things are happening in your life and around you, regardless of the circumstances. Imagine if someone close to you were no longer here. What would you miss about them? Imagine if you knew that your life were coming to an end sometime soon. How would you live? What would you say? What would you do? These questions don't need to be melodramatic. They don't need to be overly intense or emotional. They actually can be really sobering in a wonderful way when we stop and pay attention and remember this life, this physical life that we have, is temporary. At some point it will come to an end for us and every other living creature and being on the planet right now. And if we remember that, And we live that way, and we engage that way with each other. We do our work from that perspective. We parent our children from that perspective. We engage with our spouse, our significant other, our friends, our family members from that perspective. That level of reverence, that level of preciousness can bring us back to the present moment in a really powerful way and help us keep things in perspective. I think it's an important thing to remember, and I'm grateful for the lesson that I continue to get over time. I'm grateful for the life of Tony Gwynn, even though I didn't know him, for all that he accomplished, for the way that he touched people, and also for the reminder that he's brought in my life just this week, even in the sad news of his passing. So let's live life with a real sense of reverence and remembering how precious it is. Thanks so much. I look forward to connecting with you again soon.